Hello, everybody. I'm Scott Freymuller with Shelley Netco on the Knot, and we have this dialogue between every show, and we talk about this almost at the beginning of every show, and what we're going to do next. So, what we're going to do, Shelley, is review. Like I'm bossing you around, which is the total opposite, right?
I need
like,
a tutorial.
Yeah, yeah. So here's what we're doing. Number one. So we've done 51 shows.
Okay.
51.
Right.
Right, which is a lot of talking.
I feel like it's a lot of talking.
And we've had some incredible guests on here.
And listening.
And listening sometimes. And we've had some great subjects, some sad, some happy. We've done our truth. And the purpose at the end of the day is when we shared our truth, that was part of the demonstration of healing, right? Like, hey, if you don't say the real deal, then how are you supposed to fix it? Right? So that was number one. And then the other piece of this was identifying red flags in a relationship, hence the he said, she said piece, right? Which almost turned into like we just co-host pretty much everything now, right? Just because of the dialogue.
True.
Because I needed somebody smart on the show. So when we started talking about it, I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff I was on YouTube today, and I just took a few or whatever. And, as we go through, I was just thinking like we'd hit a couple and see where we're at now.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we did these, some of the ideas weren't, they were good ideas, and I think they were really good shows. I don't watch a lot of them, but when I do, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I should listen to that. You know what I mean?
You're like, wow.
I was like, oh, shit. Like, that was really smart. Like, who told me to say that? You know? But anyways, the first thing you checked off was confidence. And, going through these 51 shows and talking about like what we've learned and how we progressed and like what's really important, they all go together. Like every single show goes together.
Yes.
And the concept is relatable to even the guests on the show.
Sure.
Right? So I have this habit of over talking. So what I was thinking is we'll start with confidence.
Okay.
Like just give you help people all the time. Just give a couple snippets of confidence. Like if somebody had low confidence, what would you tell them?
Oh, gosh. I would say when you are feeling like you're lacking something, it is an opportunity to always pay attention. And that's the one thing where people miss. And that is paying attention to what it's triggering, which is a fear. So when there's a lack of confidence, there's always like a fear of not being enough, I think. So if you feel like you're not enough, then what is it you're trying to measure up to? And there's your opportunity for growth, because the lack of confidence shows that there's an opportunity for growth, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you don't have confidence, that means you're comparing yourself to something.
Right.
And you should never compare
That
yourself
is that
to anything.
measuring up. Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you start to be, confidence isn't like, oh, I'm a badass. Confidence is like, hey, I know who I am, and I know what I bring to the table.
Yeah. It's I'm good no matter what.
Right. And it's not cocky.
No.
Two different things.
No.
It's not arrogance. It's just like, hey, I'm not comparing myself. I don't think I'm better, but I know who I am, and I'm self-aware of my positive and negative, and I'm cool with it.
Right. And we talked about that a little bit in the last show regarding relationship when we got into jealousy, which sometimes is a lack of confidence thing.
Totally.
So if we have that fear, and again, it's what's your fear? Is it fear of losing someone? What's that coming from? Are you lacking something? Does someone else have something that you think that you need to have to keep your partner? It's all those things that it's just points to the opportunity for growth, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Self-image. When I came in, we were talking about Spanx.
Spanx.
And how people would wear Spanx, because they don't want people to know they have like,
Flaws.
I don't know, a belly or
Flaws.
or flobs or whatever.
Or they want
I don't
to
know.
try to look their best. I mean, there's a lot beneath self-image, I think. There's a lot of layers to self-image.
But so in that case of self-image, if you're doing something that isn't real, to me that's a lie. Like I'd be super bummed. Well, this sounds shitty, but it's truth. So you date somebody, right? And say you get to a point where you go home and they take off their pants and they take off their, what's it called again?
Spanx.
Your Spanx. And then they're like, Like, what the fuck?
Well,
That's not fair.
okay, so let's go a step further. Is a push-up bra like false advertising and self-image defamation?
I mean, I don't know.
Robin?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so where do you draw the line?
Yeah, because I mean,
I don't know.
We're trying to fit in my, most women, and this is going to get a little graphic here, but most women, our breasts are not the same size unless they're fake. The real ones are not always the same size.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a
Yeah.
hard time being fitted for the correct garments. So sometimes the only thing that we can wear is like a push-up bra because it emphasizes and helps us level things out a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But my point was,
I
what's
mean,
the
but
difference
look-
between Spanx and a push-up bra?
Well, then you asked your question, why are you doing it?
Wearing a push-up bra?
Why are you wearing Spanx?
Not wearing Spanx. I can't answer that question.
No, I know, but my point
But I'm
is,
wearing
you're
a
not wearing
push-up bra.
Okay, well then why? Then answering the question like why?
Well,
Why
that's-
would you wear a push-up bra?
I don't know.
I'm
It's
asking.
almost all you can purchase. I'm not going to wear a
Does it make you more
sports bra.
attractive? Does it make you feel more attractive? Does it like
I don't know.
why? Like, and then we talk
It's
about
got more
makeup.
padding. It hides your nipples. I don't know.
Yeah, like, but
Got a
then
point.
Right, Robin?
She's got a point.
so we go back to we had this conversation. I think it was in self-image about makeup and eyebrows and
Yes.
lashes and
Yes.
lipstick
Yes.
and how straight your teeth are.
Yes.
And we're not talking about you. We're just saying in general.
Yes.
But then you ask the question why,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And I think that's the self-awareness and the truth,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like I work out because it makes me feel good, but it also makes me look good in
Right.
my mind. I think
Right.
I look better and I feel better,
Right.
right? And I do worry about how I look.
Mhm.
Like I don't want to have a belly,
Mhm.
right?
Same. Mhm.
And
I get it.
yeah, but I think that like self-image is somewhat healthy too.
It is.
I think it is.
It
Right?
is.
Because I take pride in my appearance.
Mhm.
I try to dress decent, not over the top, but I try to dress decent.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like I don't care necessarily what I wear as much as I used to.
I think like anything, until it gets to a point where it's somehow disruptive to your life
Yeah.
or, I don't know, outrageously expensive where you're trying to maintain a way of maintaining the self-image,
Right.
whether it's beauty or workout routines that you can't afford or whatnot. So I think when something becomes disruptive, then or prohibitive
Mm-hmm.
to doing other things, then that,
Yeah.
or people with maybe body dysmorphia and they work out 4 times a day, like those are the kinds of things where it might be an issue. But otherwise, if it's like how you identify yourself and how you feel good. I look back at things like when I was 14, I started wearing makeup, and I started, I remember getting ready for high school, and I remember my mom making some comments to me, and it was just wasn't, to her, that wasn't a normal thing. But to me, that at 14, that felt right, and I've always done it, and here I am, however many years later, and it's just who I am, and it's what I do, and like to me, that is who I am and my image, right? It's like how I identify myself. Now, will I do it without? Yes, but that's just who I am. So when someone goes outside their norm and they are doing things that, like I said, are interrupting their life or disruptive or prohibitive as far as finances, that kind of thing, then that, I think, is
That's
a
probably an
question
issue,
mark. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's like a level of self-pride. I was just thinking when you were talking like that, you're wearing a green dress with flowers all over it, and it's super colorful, and I'm wearing a purple shirt, and I got these goofy pants on. Like I would never wear these pants ever before. I mean, I just wasn't my style, right? And now, like when I was getting dressed today, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what I wear. Like if my shirt's purple, I don't care. Like whatever. I'm just gonna throw it on. Like that's what the first thing. You know what I'm saying?
Looks good on you.
Well, it's funny. Like right, you say it looks good. Where like before, I might be like, oh my god, I'm wearing a purple shirt.
And I used to wear black all the time on the show.
Yeah, we used to wear black all the time on the show.
Yeah.
But like, so I think that's a level.
And then one day I was like, why?
Yeah, like why do you do that? Why not let's have fun?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the
Be myself, self-image.
right, and then the judgment piece and those other little things that go along with this. But it's how you carry it. It's how you carry yourself. And I totally notice, and absolutely apparent, if you're in a good place and you're like, yep, I'm having a great day and I'm having fun and I feel good about myself and whatever. You're like your self-talk is in a positive way. your life is in a positive way.
Sure.
People are attracted to that. People want to see you. People want to talk to you. People are, like you go into a bar or a meetup or whatever. When we're like having fun and being ourselves and being genuine and authentic, it's a totally different interaction than if you roll and you're like, yeah, totally different deal. Because you give off that vibe of who you are.
Right.
And if you're not dialed in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you give off a different vibe.
If you're doing things purposefully to impress other people, or you're doing things because you think that's what they want you to do, then that's not your self-image. That's what you think their image is that they want to see.
Yeah.
And that's when, again, self-abandonment is the only thing that I keep getting into is once you take that step, you've gone the wrong way.
And I think too, there's a pride element in that, right? Like, if you take pride in how you look and you have the confidence to wear what you want to wear and do what you want to do, and like, oh, that's cool, those shoes are cool, like I'm wearing those things, or you got flag socks on, like fuck it, you know what I mean? Like I like flag socks, so I wear them.
Good.
And that's cool, right? But it's that like level of confidence, and I'm not always confident every day. Like I don't always feel like, oh, I look good today.
Same.
Yeah,
I feel that.
But today I didn't think about it. I just put on the first fucking thing that was on the pile of clothes. Like, all right, cool. I'm wearing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. That brings into, things for mental health. We talked about that a lot, right? Like things you do for mental health. Like, do you work out for mental health? Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Like you're physically fit. But if you're not, that doesn't mean that you're not healthy.
True.
Right?
It does raise your endorphins, though, and
sure,
get everything moving through your brain.
Absolutely. But I think, too, there's also like that level, like when we talked about dieting and things like that, that's $1 billion industry with like a, 80% failure rate or more. And then it becomes like, okay, well, like you said, where are we fanatical and where are we being healthy? Because working out isn't the only thing that makes you healthy.
Sure.
Like you could go do, I don't know, knitting or something. Because we're not always going to be able to work out. Like when when I'm 180, I'm not going to be able to work out maybe, right? Depending on what technology we have.
You might.
I might, but I'm just saying, like, you have other things that are mentally healthy.
Sure.
And you can do things like meditation and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
Right? Which
helps.
actually
reverses aging. That'll help you get to 200.
Meditation does? I didn't know that. Really? It reverses aging? All right, well, then, fuck it. I'll do that more too.
Increases your telomeres.
Well, okay, so here's what reverses aging. When we talk about, like, fun and joy.
Right.
And we did a show on healthy adventures. That relates too.
Sure.
That's incredible. And healthy adventures might mean different things for different people. Well, of course they mean different things for different people. But like, what's a healthy adventure?
I mean, for you, it's definitely going out on a 45-mile-an-hour electric surfboard and falling, I'd say.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, kind of.
Why don't you tell us about that?
So I was asking you the question, but I can tell you about my hydrofoil.
Please do.
It's hard. It's super cool. You know what a hydrofoil is?
No.
So it's this surfboard, and it has a battery in it, right?
Okay.
So it's battery powered. And the reason why I think it's so amazing is because it's good for the environment. No, I'm just kidding. So it has this battery, right? So it's a surfboard, it has a battery in it, and then it has this like long fin, and at the bottom of the fin there's like this little propeller, and then it has like another like
under the
wing.
water?
Yeah.
Okay.
So check this out. So you get on it, like you grab this thing, and then like you have this trigger in your hand. So your finger like totally makes how fast and how much power the board has. So like you get on the thing with your hands, and you're trying to like get up on it and hold the trigger steady, because if you like jerk it goes like whoop and it flies out, or you like endo and you go underneath the water. So so you're like trying to hold this thing steady, trying to balance, trying to like get up on the thing. It's freaking hard. And then like when your balance is off, you can either endo into the water, or it like comes up out of the water. And if you come up too high, like it'll launch out of the water, and then you totally eat shit. Which is how I got like this giant bump on the side of my head and
concussion
that scratch
and your cuts.
Like I broke my toe, I think. But whatever.
Broken toe.
But it's so funny because when we were trying to do it, but that's like, to me, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Like some people be like, you're freaking stupid, dude. Yeah. You're way too old for that, but you're not.
Well, you're an adrenaline guy.
Yes, for sure. But okay, so now back to you.
Yeah.
Tell me one of yours.
So I did something recently that will not sound like an adventure to you, but to me it was a...
But it doesn't matter what I think.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. And it was the night of the full moon, the eclipse.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was driving home, and it was like 10 p.m. And I went to get off the freeway and realized what the moon looked like, and if I went out into the desert, that it was going to be no light pollution, and it would be amazing. So I went the other direction and out into the middle of nowhere, and just took this little trip and took pictures and pulled off the side of the road. There was no, like, literally sat in the middle of the road for a while with no cars coming either direction, shut off my lights, and just took pictures, and was out there with black sky and this incredible moon, and it was ridiculous. To me, that was
cool.
like one of the biggest adventures I've ever done by myself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I was out there for like an hour probably, and it was wild.
It was beautiful.
Oh, and
You
to
know-
be out in the middle of the desert, like, it was crazy.
Ask me what I did.
I know what you did. What'd you do?
So,
Total opposite of what I did.
oh my God.
I was in solitude.
So I was on the boat dock, and this buddy of mine who we have a hydroboard or whatever with
Right.
a jet ski in it. You fly like 80 feet in the air.
Right.
So we're all sitting there, and we're hanging out, and it's dark. You're not really supposed to be on the lake in the dark. So I mean, it wasn't me, but it was somebody that looked just like me and acts just like me out there.
Right.
And so we went. So I was like, dude, I have all these like glow sticks on the boat. And I don't know why I had them, but I had a whole bunch of them. And I'm like, shit, that'd be cool if we put like glow sticks all over us. You know, we put them in like the boots for the flyboard and stuff and on the jet ski. And then we'd go out there and fly and like look at the full moon.
There you go.
So I did. Like we went out there and flew, and I was like, yeah, it was so cool. Like to be above the water because it was reflecting in the water. And then you get like, that's to me. And then the guy, my buddy's wife, we call him Scuba. His wife's like, dude, are you serious right now? And I'm like, listen, this is a once in a lifetime thing. This is like a moon eclipse, and we're at the lake, and we have a flyboard. And we just happen to have, you know, some sticks too, some glow sticks.
Right.
At the same time, though, I also think about like how amazing it is to go to a symphony and listen to music
Yes.
and absorb that.
Yes.
Or go watch, you know, an event where somebody's super good at something.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not a sports guy.
Yeah.
I cannot sit there and watch people play
Yeah,
whatever.
you said that. Mhm.
Right? I think it's amazing. But I do think it's fascinating to watch somebody who's really good, like at that level,
Right.
perform so well. I think like that's a healthy adventure too. You know what I'm saying?
I went to Andre Bocelli a couple months ago, and I
I've seen
probably
him.
cried for at least half the
It's
concert
amazing.
because I was so just immersed in it, and just I don't know, it was like riding the waves of the ocean, but in such a spiritual, incredible experience.
cool,
It was
right?
Wild.
Or like you go to Sedona. You know, that's an adventure, but
Yeah.
it's a spiritual one.
Yes.
Or you know, camping or just hanging out by the fire or playing a game or whatever. I mean, there's like so many things. Like you can make almost anything an adventure. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing. I think the adventure piece is like something not repetitive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, let's, you know, I go to the lake all the time, but it's never the same.
Yeah.
Like there's always some new idea.
Yeah, it's just
you
having
know.
the mindfulness, I think, too, of knowing that it's an experience. And to your point, you get something out of it different every time.
Yeah. But there's also like, I have to say that when we talk about adventures or things for mental health, like I think, I didn't realize, but like water is so important to me. I really love being around the water, and I really love like hanging out in my space on my little dock thing and like cleaning the boat.
It's your
or,
home,
like
yeah.
vacuuming
It's
or whatever
cathartic.
the heck I do. I don't know.
Yeah, the process is cathartic.
And it's really neat because it's something like that I really, really love and I really, really enjoy. And I didn't realize that before, right? Like I was always like riding motorcycles and racing
Sure.
and working out and getting beat up or whatever at the gym, you know, stuff like that. And then I'm like, oh, like this is really cool. Like I can just float around and check this shit out.
Right.
Like that's cool. And I think that's part of growth too, you know? So there's like two extremes for me. Like I can be, you know, trying to do flips off the slide or, you know, going to a concert or, you know what I'm saying? Like everything in between.
Sure.
But I think for me, I just like the experience. I like the different experiences.
Yes.
You know? But then the activity is soothing to me because I want to be active.
Right.
I don't really like to sit around too much.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but again, like you said, not for you, but who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
what
no,
you like,
it's different to everybody.
but what you
Yeah.
like, you know, I could like too. Like going to a concert. Fuck, I'd be totally cool with that, right?
Yeah.
So it's and you've been at the lake before, it's cool.
Yeah.
Right? Body language. Remember that one?
Oh my God.
That was so freaking funny about body language.
Yes.
So we were at this bar.
I feel like Robin might enjoy this story.
Yeah, we were at this bar, and this girl, she like winked at. Did she wink at me or something? She winked at me.
She said to you.
Oh, did you wink at me?
Did you just wink at me?
Yeah, she's like, hey, did you just wink at me? And I'm like, no. And she's like, dude. And I was like, what? And then Shelly.
He told me this story, and I was like, oh my God, are you kidding?
Shelly's like, dude, she was hitting on you. And I was like, oh, do people wink? Because I was like, do people wink? She's like, yeah, oh, everybody winks. I'm like, I didn't wink. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It was like this total dipshit.
I go, she wanted you to say.
Yes. Yeah, but I didn't get it. It didn't.
Or did you wink at me?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense.
No, I got something in my eye.
So then we had to go into body language 101.
Right, and that was what that show was about.
Yeah.
Right, but it was also about like how you carry yourself.
Yeah, it was nonverbal
open,
communication.
Not crossing your legs. When you meet somebody, you're not. You know what I mean? Like body language says so much, right? And then also like how you talk and how you verbalize your words and the energy you use behind it.
Sure.
It's so like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So that was a funny one. And if you watch people and you're present and you listen to them, they tell you who they are.
Absolutely.
People tell you who they are all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Which is pretty amazing when you're actually present.
When you're paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to take those little nuggets and just like file them away.
Wait, what do you mean? The
no,
little
like
nuggets of like behavior?
Yeah, just in conversations sometimes with people. If they say something or do something and just like tuck it away and go, okay, I'm going to remember that. I mean, not to use against somebody, but just to remember who someone is. They just revealed something.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Their character.
Yeah, character.
Yeah,
character revelation. Yeah.
Well, so let's think about like we talk about dating a lot, right? Or human interaction. And you go, I don't know, whatever. Say you're with a friend or a date or whatever, and you're at a restaurant, right? When you walk in the door, are you courteous? Do you hold the door open for somebody walking up? Do you hold the door open for your partner? Do you ask them where they'd like to go? Or, when you come in, do you address the hostess with respect?
Sure.
Or the host with respect?
Sure.
Right? And then, when you sit down, there's so many things that could be like courteous if you pay attention, right? Like think of all those things related to body language that could be so important. You're smiling at me. Why?
I'm just smiling in general because it's a good subject.
It's funny.
No, it's a good experience for me.
Yeah. Right? Like that is so telling. So say you meet somebody at a restaurant, from the time they walk in the door to the time you're having a meal or a drink, there's like 1,000 things in that interaction. And it's, how you speak to people, how you carry yourself, how you sit, right? And here's an interesting thing I noticed too, that like say you're on a date and you're sitting like this and we're both sitting straight ahead, or you're like crossed your legs the other way or whatever, versus like when you have a conversation and you both kind of turn in your chair and face each other. That's a totally different
vibe.
Totally different vibe, right? So shit like that, like when you start paying attention, it's not judgy, but it's
awareness and it's important.
It's a subconscious. People behave subconsciously, you know what I mean? And you can tell.
Like
you already know the answer to your question. Like, hey, are you into me? You already know the answer. If you actually think about it, you pay attention. But then, like the interaction, think of all those things like body language, your core, like if you have character, because if you treat staff at a service place, like a restaurant or whatever, if you treat the staff poorly, then you probably have poor character, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Or you're just not a considerate person.
Right. Both things wouldn't be okay for me.
Yeah. Exactly.
But and then the interaction too. Like I think I always liked sitting at the bar. I still do because it's social, and you can be like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" Or you sit next to somebody that you wouldn't probably normally sit next to, and you can learn about them or whatever. But then that's the other dynamic with that too, is like if you're with somebody, you involve them in the conversation as well. Like you wouldn't meet somebody like, "Oh, hey, my name's Shelly. Oh, my name's Scott. Oh, how are you?" And then we're with Robin, and we don't introduce Robin.
Right.
Like those core things are just so key, right? And then how you introduce that. Like, there's so many things. Like, there's thousands of things that go along with that. The body language piece is massive. But from a female perspective, like, what do you look for in a guy?
I would say what you were talking about, which is just that, just the courteousness, openness. Definitely look for red flags. I think everybody's always looking for red flags.
Like what? Like on a first date. We talked about that too, like on a first date, red flag first date.
Yeah, red flags. Well, just, I would say, we talked about phones.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Leaving a phone out?
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
I was on a first date. This was a while back when I was on a first date, and the guy just kept like scrolling through his phone the whole time. And it was just one of those things. It's like, wow, this is just really shocking. This is a first date.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of a thing. It's just that, does someone really value being there with you? Do they value your time?
It's a good
Right.
thing you found out, so there was no more dates after that.
Right? No kidding.
Well, I think too,
Waste of
like that's
time.
a third, right?
Yeah.
Like when we talk about that, if you pick up your phone, that's like you having a separate conversation with somebody else
Sure,
and excluding me, so that's rude.
sure.
And I used to be like, well, no, that's fucking rude.
Unless it's something like, hey, I need to check on such and such, you know.
Yeah,
I got
and they
this
like
going
you
on.
would like, hey, I'm talking to this person.
Yeah,
and, they said this
I need to
or
check
whatever.
on this. It's
Yeah.
something going on, blah, blah, blah.
Like if you can't be transparent, then don't fucking pick it up.
Right.
And that's kind of, that goes back to that.
Not like I'm going to jump on my Facebook in the middle of a date.
Right. Well, but before I wouldn't say anything.
Right.
Like now I'd be like, dude, what's up with the phone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? I just ask. Be like, what are you doing? What are you doing on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are you talking to?
Mm-hmm.
Not because I'm jealous or I'm invasive, but because it's rude for you to be having a fucking whole nother dialogue when I'm sitting here.
Sure.
So if you don't value my time, then let's be truthful about that.
Right.
And we'll just end it right here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we shorten that
Mm-hmm.
span so we're not wasting time.
Save yourself the time.
Yeah. And it's not like an angry thing or a mean thing or a rude thing.
No.
It's truth.
It's just your standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your standards of what you expect.
Nothing wrong
like,
with that.
Yeah. Or if somebody like calls you out and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Like you know what? I got distracted. I'm so sorry. Let me put this away.
Sure.
Because I do value your time and I would like to,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, spend time with you.
Mm-hmm.
We were camping a few weeks back and this couple, they've been married like 30 years. And we were sitting there and there's another couple there. And the two guys were on their phone, and I probably would have been too, but I had like my phone in my rig or whatever. And the gal's like, guys, seriously? And they're like, what? And she's like, phones. And like, oh my God, we didn't even realize. Like we just totally got immersed in.
Yeah, it's a
sorry,
habit.
sorry, sorry. And they put them away right away.
Yeah.
But they've been married forever.
Yeah.
But she's saying like, hey, this is our time. This is our time with family and
Yeah.
friends. And like, let's be present, you
Yeah.
know? And that was super helpful.
I think it's a habit for a lot of us. So that one's
Social media.
Mm-hmm.
I know it is. It's funny because we discuss thirds quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have social media on my phone. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't have dating apps. I don't have nothing. There's nothing on there. I don't have even my. I don't have like the software we use for the company. I have my email
Mm-hmm.
and obviously text, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. I don't have any apps on there. There's no banking apps. There's nothing.
Mm.
So if I want to do something, I have to sit at my computer and do it.
Mm.
So then I'm like focused on that.
Right.
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 And that's helped a lot, like with just being present and stuff.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's rare.
Well, yeah, it's just something I started doing.
Yeah, that's cool though. It's
Mhm.
rare.
And I don't even know if it was conscious. I think I bought a new phone and just didn't download apps. I don't know. And then it just stuck. I'm like, that worked out.
Right.
So that was social media. We did like a whole thing on social media.
Yeah, we did. And about the impact of it, what
Yeah.
it's doing to people.
And you're on social media a lot for
Mhm.
business.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I'm
do-
actually not on a lot. I dedicate like this much time, usually in the morning, and it's a set amount of time to do what I need to do, very
Mhm.
purposeful, and then that's it.
And you know what's funny when we say in the morning? One of the reasons why I took it off is because did you ever notice like in the morning when I had it on my phone, just for me,
Mhm.
I would wake up and instantly open up my phone and like click on Facebook. Or
Oh, I
something.
don't do that.
Or like I'd see something about the news or whatever, and it almost like set the tone. Like that's your first interaction you're
Mm.
gonna have
Mm-mm.
is social media.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
I don't do that.
It's yeah. Like I don't either anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I
can't, but-
schedule it almost. I mean, I schedule it like work. So I do workout, walk the dog, do my coffee, do my thing, and then I do my whatever it is, 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
that's it. Very
It's a big deal.
like a sniper.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like it's very tactical.
It
yeah.
is very tactical. Yes.
Yeah. You know, we talked about jealousy the control of it.
Mm.
You know, how many relationships have you had where there's jealousy?
Mm. Mm. Definitely one.
The toxic one?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't remember really ever being jealous as like a normal
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a huge red flag, right?
Mhm.
That was the purpose of that.
Mm-hmm. I would say that. Gosh, that's funny. Probably that one.
Just
That's
that one,
interesting,
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's weird because like there's so many things that are wrapped around that. You know,
Yeah.
when you think about when you were jealous, what was happening around you,
Yeah.
there's like 15 red flags.
Or
in that
he
deal.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so as we go back through these, I think we're looking at each thing a different way,
Yeah.
like recapping it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the red flag perspective of it is pretty cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Fascinating.
Oh, the friends aren't welcome. That we talked about that in the same toxic kind of relationships. Like sometimes you're not welcome at certain places. Like, oh, my
Sure.
whatever doesn't like you, or so you can't go with me.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine putting up with that bullshit now?
No.
You're like, you fucking kidding
I
me
can
right
imagine what you would say. You're like,
fuck you.
Hi, I'm the guy who doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'd be like,
Have you met me?
See ya. Yeah, nice talking to you.
Right?
It's just funny like that, where you know what I mean? Like you're in this space, and sometimes you're weak, and you actually care.
Yeah.
And then you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because hanging on to the relationship is more valuable than being truthful.
Yeah, and hanging on to the relationship is more valuable than your own self-care.
Yeah. Fear of losing something that sucks
Right.
is more important
Yeah.
than being who you are.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Can you imagine yourself right now being in a relationship where your partner's friend told you that you weren't welcome, but you were? Where does that put you in the level of importance in this person's
And
life?
where's the trust?
Like zero. It puts you at the fucking bottom.
Right.
Like that right there, everybody's saying,
Yeah.
so take the hint, dude. Right?
Sure.
I was in a relationship like that for a while, and I didn't do it. Like what? And I think that's where some of the processing is, right? Is you look back and you're like, holy crap, there was like 100 red flags, but you just didn't acknowledge them,
Right.
because you had this fantasy of like it working somehow,
Sure.
right? Even though their behaviors consistently tell you that they're not interested,
Mm-hmm.
and your behaviors are saying the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is what created their behavior, which is what makes it toxic.
Sure.
Like, hello,
And you're not ready to be alone.
yeah. So you just
So
like
you tell
deal with it.
yourself more lies.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Oh my god.
Codependency.
What's
Yeah,
that?
it's total codependency.
Oh,
Absolutely.
completely.
Total codependency. Yeah.
Completely.
And then
At its
for
best.
people in that environment, then those people are toxic too. Like I can't imagine telling Robin's significant other or whatever that, hey dude, like Robin's cool, but you can't come.
Right?
Can you fucking imagine being that arrogant? Like
No.
I would never in a million years do something like that. Like that's not ever gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that brings like the power of no. That's the next one. And when we were talking about these, like all these go together,
Yes.
because you'd say, no, that doesn't work for me.
Right.
Nuh-uh. Like think of how many times you should have said no.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yes.
And that's based on
Yes, I should have said no.
confidence, communication, intuition, being able to be alone. Like all these go together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so crazy. Like
Having no fear.
power saying no, you know what? That doesn't work for me.
Right. I'm going to draw a nice little boundary
Yep. And just say no.
and call it good.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing too is like, you don't always have to call it good. Like saying no doesn't mean like this is the end.
No.
Or even like the phone thing or somebody like not inviting you. When you call it out and you're like, hey man, that doesn't work for me and here's why.
Right.
That's not appropriate. That's not respectful. And that's not what I want in my life or my relationship. And they're like, holy shit, I didn't even realize that. Oh my God, let's fix that.
Right.
That's a different response than, meh.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's that whole dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
but it comes from being truthful and being able to communicate like how you feel and what you expect,
Yeah.
right? For your own self-respect.
Right.
And that's important. That's what's funny too, is it comes back to then cheating.
That's a deep and wide one. Right?
I don't know. I just remember when we were sitting there, we had that list from Psychology Today.
Yes. Of
And it
why
said-
people cheat.
Why people cheat. And it was like, because they're angry and they don't get attention. And I was like, that's
Right.
all bullshit.
Their emotional needs aren't being fulfilled.
That's all fucking bullshit. You cheat because of you.
Mm-hmm. You cheat
Right?
because of exactly who you are.
Yep, you do. the thing is, I mean, you're lying. It's self-esteem, it's self-worth, it's insecurity, all these things, right? And
seeking validation.
Seeking validation. I think that's part of, and I relate some of this stuff back to myself. But like for me, that's so important that I don't repeat that behavior ever again. That I'm very cautious about who I commit to, right?
That makes sense.
Because I don't ever want to be in that position again. I don't ever want to be in a spot where you're cheating.
You realize the pain that you caused,
and the pain that it caused for me,
for you,
right? And that's one of those things where your own self-awareness, right? And then your respect for yourself and whoever you're with, like your partner, and then having that confidence to be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Right.
That's so powerful.
It's
all
ridiculous.
That goes away.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a little bit about too that some people are locked in. Like some people don't have a choice, right? Like a stay-at-home mom. Like her husband's cheating on her. What's she gonna do? Be like, oh, F you, I'm out. I'm just gonna pack my bags. Because some people don't have that option, or some people, may not financially. I bring this back to finances. It's not always about finances, but you bring it back to a situation where you don't have the finances, like you're barely making, what you need to do. So if one of you breaks off, like it's catastrophic, right?
Nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you're in that mindset, it's because you're putting yourself there. You can get out.
You can.
You're just making the choice not to because you don't believe enough in yourself.
I remember that point when I was in therapy before I left. And I had that mindset. I can't go because I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And she said, what are you going to do about it?
That's like the best.
And that was the changing point for me. That was the absolute shift.
That's crazy.
And it was probably 2 weeks when I like sat with myself and really got my shit together and said, this doesn't have to be my choice.
This isn't going to work for me.
This doesn't have to be my choice.
That when you just said that, I think of manipulation. With that, like if people are cheating, like think of the level of manipulation you have to sustain to do that. Like you're not only lying, but you're manipulating, you're gaslighting.
Yeah.
And think back to a time when you were cheated on, you fucking knew.
Yes.
You totally knew.
Yes.
But you didn't want to admit it. Right? Like there were so many signs that things weren't right and that there was somebody else.
Yes.
But I wouldn't admit it. Right? Like you just weren't ready.
Right.
And that's not like a woe is me, I'm a victim thing. That's just like maybe it's like a self-preservation thing that your brain does.
It's just like everything. You're not ready.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe you're just not ready to admit it.
You're not ready.
Yeah.
But when you're ready, you do admit it, and then you own it with a vengeance.
Oh, yeah. But you also have to heal it, too.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying you have to own it first, and then you can begin to heal.
Yeah. But just owning it and admitting it and being like, dude.
Yes.
Yeah. So the romantic side, the choosing.
Oh, that's a shift. Okay.
Right. Well, I'm shifting it.
Yeah.
Well, from that, like if you choose your partner, you wouldn't cheat on them.
You don't need to cheat.
Right?
Yeah.
So like that's where I always think, and I still do believe this. I still do believe like the total romantic thing. Like if you love somebody, you can fix it. You have to choose to. But you can still fix it. Like if you really love somebody, you can make it work.
If both are on the same page and both want to put the effort in and both understand what they're working for.
And isn't that the core in the beginning? Isn't that like that core personality? Like, hey, I'm a hard worker. I'm responsible. I take care of my shit. I don't make excuses. I'm self-aware. All those things are tools that if you did come to a crossroad, you have the tools to help fix it. And that's part of that dating thing and that self-awareness where you can be like, hey, you have the character and the tools, I guess. Yeah. So that if we did have a problem, we could figure it out together.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have the trust enough to be able to tell each other the truth, And then also the here we go again, the balls to have that transparency.
The balls are out.
Right? Meaning this time.
No, I'm serious. Like that's, that's a, whatever.
Well, you have to be vulnerable enough to have the transparency and to be willing to put yourself out there to have that conversation.
Yeah.
If in the past someone was cheating on you or, there was a gaslighting fight or something like that, when you were vulnerable or if vulnerability was turned against you.
Yeah.
So that's why it does take balls to be vulnerable
Yeah.
and put yourself out there and have that conversation with no fear that that your partner is going to leave. And it's
Right.
that emotional safety that you have, because your relationship is only as safe as you make your partner feel and your
Right.
partner makes you feel.
And that's abuse. Like a lot of the stuff we're talking about is abuse.
Mhm.
Like when you manipulate somebody or you gaslight them, that's abuse.
Mhm.
That's like mental abuse.
Yes.
Period. End of story.
Agree.
Now, like Robin just said, there's two sides of that, right? Like if you're letting it happen to yourself, it's your fault, which I don't think anybody's a complete victim, but you know what I'm saying?
You can't be a victim without your permission.
Right. I agree.
You cannot.
I agree. The interesting thing with that is just like that. There's a level of emotional abuse with all this, right? Like, but you're putting yourself in that situation,
Right.
Like you choose to.
You're choosing it for some reason or another. You're giving your power away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then there's dating on there.
Dating, yes, interesting subject.
We won't even say anything about that.
Okay.
We don't need to say about like how many first dates, right?
No,
We don't need to say anything about.
I was on a lot of first dates.
Yeah. Who cares how many?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
The video crew wanted to know how your dating life was going there, Shelley.
Well, I'm seeing someone still.
Ooh, cool.
I'm having fun.
Well, there you go, guys, over there in the booth.
I'm having fun.
It's going well.
It's enjoyable.
All the reports that I get is it's going well.
He's very courteous to restaurant staff.
Well, the smile
Yeah.
on her face says it all,
I know.
right?
No, it's going good. It's fun. Do we need more?
Moving on.
Moving on.
She's there a lot. Okay. So let's do this.
Wow.
Let's do this then. How did you get there?
Ooh.
Right? Okay, so we went from whatever first dates and you're dating and you're having fun and you're doing your thing.
Right.
What got you to that point where you're happy? Let's just admit it, you're happy.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
All the words you use, the way you look when you talk about it, you're happy.
I'm enjoying it.
Yes. So how did you get there?
Let's see. I think it was just good conversation at the beginning, very mindful, and one day at a time,
Okay.
without the
Expectation.
expectation and the end goal in mind, because there is no end goal.
Okay.
And
That's healthy.
I've always had an end goal when I went into something,
Mm-hmm. Me too.
and that's not important. What's important is, how does it feel?
Yeah.
And it's not like, is it fun? Woo! Because that's not where I'm at. It's like, is this right?
For you.
Does it feel right?
Okay. I'm gonna ask.
And it's a constant conversation.
So with this relationship that's satisfying and fulfilling to you,
Mhm.
does it enhance the other parts of your life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a lot of awareness, a lot of new awareness and perspective.
It's like I'm interviewing you right now. But
Yeah,
the
that's
reason
fine.
why I asked you that question is because when I talk to you now and I see you, you're like, you glow.
Oh.
Like you have this like extra, like you're always nice and you're always fun and, having a good time. But there's like this extra level of like energy. Like you seem happy. It's healthy.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that, you say you go to a restaurant, you meet people together.
Yeah.
And enjoy your time together.
Right.
And, you're going to concerts and you're going to sporting events and you're doing these things together and you're enjoying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I never hear you say is I never hear you say like I have to, or
Mm-mm.
I'm supposed to do, or
No, it's all a choice. Mhm.
right. And you're making the same choice and it sounds like a healthy choice.
Yeah.
Like I think who was it that said they talked about a relationship and they said that every week we decide to renew it.
I love that.
Like, hey, this is cool. Let's try another week.
Right.
And see how it goes.
I love that.
Right? And then this is cool. Let's try another week and see how it goes.
I love that.
And that keeps you engaged and it keeps you choosing,
Right.
right? Because that's also saying that, hey, you can't have me in your life for free.
Right.
Like you're not free.
Well, it's an investment. It's an investment of time, energy.
Yeah.
I think just
Emotion.
emotional commitment. Not commitment, but you have to commit yourself and your emotion to, and just I don't know, just everything, communication, all of it, to just be there and be where you are at that time. And it doesn't mean like be there. It means where you are at the time and be in it, you know?
And it seems like the person meets, like if you had a list, the person would meet the things on your list.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Because that's another thing I never heard you say is like, well, it's cool, but,
Right.
you know? And it's funny how we talk about things or relationships or dating, and if you say negative things, you're almost manifesting something negative.
Sure.
You're like giving energy to something that's not
Sure.
right instead of addressing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing that I notice about you too is you're very, that's the first person in your life. Like that's your person. Pretty much. What I'm saying is like, you don't talk outside your relationship.
Right.
And if there was an issue, you wouldn't talk about that outside your relationship. That would be inappropriate.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a solid interaction.
It's
from
a solid,
from
yeah,
me.
it is.
And I think I know you're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think what's important too, what's helped is not, I don't know, we still aren't using any labels or defining anything. And that kind of goes with the how's it feel today, how's it feel today, how's it feel today kind of a thing. And without having an end goal or terminology or anything like that. And it's I think the first experience I've had like that where it's just kind of like liberating and enjoyable.
that's cool.
And I think
Without expectations.
without expectations.
Which means there's no control.
Right. And yeah, and the expectation is just enjoy. And that's the way it should be. You know, it's like Abraham Hicks talks about that. We're here for the satisfaction.
Right.
And so many people miss that point and get caught up in just restrictive thoughts and restrictive behaviors and patterns and things. And coming from where I've come from, I know that I want not that.
Yeah.
Right?
But you can like create that, right?
Yes.
But you've also, you know, when you said the first dates, like however many,
Right.
we joked about it, but really the message there was like you're learning what you want, and you're learning like the things that people have, like the maybe like the traits or like the personality traits or the base of them. You're actually learning like what you want. So, you know, one of the things, if you don't do that and you don't explore a little bit, then how do you really know what you want? Like, how do you even identify that?
Sure.
And how do you appreciate somebody who's really good
Right.
if you don't explore some of the other
Absolutely.
personality traits and be like,
Absolutely.
and then time alone too,
Yeah.
right? To understand who you are
Right.
and what you're really about,
Yes.
because you can't figure out what you want without that. And you did all those things, which is how you got. I mean, it sounds healthy to me. Of course, I'm
And I
not
think
there,
that's the
but-
only way that people can, well, for me, I can only speak from my experience, but that's the only way that I could get to this place where I could, I guess, feel myself and really feel how it is, and hear myself think, if that makes sense, and just have the clarity. So I think the clarity is what allowed me to understand and just have the perspective and not be emotionally charged and emotionally reactive. And even when there's been a couple things that have come up where I've like had moments, and I've talked to you at some time, you know, at one point when I was like talking about, you know, just like having this rejection thing and stuff, and it was because of some circumstances. And I didn't like freak out or anything. I just had to sit with it and go, okay, what is going on here? And just having that clarity and space too, and not being all wrapped up and tangled in something heavy and all that stuff allows that.
But you weren't a victim in that.
No.
You were like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing the same shit.
Yeah.
You were totally transparent and totally truthful.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's why I think you're happy.
Yeah.
Because you told the truth.
And what's cool is having this person, and I can have those conversations with him.
Right.
And it's like pretty powerful
It's
to be able
super
to do
powerful.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I think it's amazing.
It's pretty
That's
cool.
why I say, like, from the outside looking in, like, when we have a dialogue, you know what I'm saying? It's very respectful, and it's very, like, it's just healthy. It's just like, it's like a growing thing. It's a foundational thing. Like,
Yeah.
I like this, and I want to build it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do another day. I'm going to put another brick in it.
Yeah.
And then you know what? This day's pretty freaking cool.
Right.
So I'm going to put a row in and go for a week. Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And then to have like that trust to go on vacation with somebody or spend time with them, like just the two of you.
Right.
That's a big deal too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that
Like
was
you
pretty
have to
funny.
have some sort of a connection.
We went on this little trip, and then we got there, and we looked at each other, and we're like, "Whoa, what are we doing here?"
Yeah, right?
We
Yeah,
both
like,
kind of
shit,
freaked
dude.
out.
Yeah.
Literally freaked
Like,
out
what,
for
should
a
we get
second.
2 rooms? No.
What should we do? Let's go get some food. We got to get out of here.
Right?
It was
Yeah.
just literally like,
But that's so cool when you
A
can just be
moment.
like that instead of faking it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And you know, there's a really great gal and a couple of great gals,
Uh-huh.
and they jumped in so fast.
Mm.
I was like, dude, no.
Red flag.
Like I can't.
Mm.
I can't.
Mhm.
Right? Like I need to build this slow. Even if I've known you for a long time, you still got to build it slow,
Mhm.
right? And I realized like that's like my intuition being like beep 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 beep.
Sure.
Beep. Not because it's bad, because I think if you meet somebody that you really enjoy and you really like, it could be that like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it could be like what you're saying, like, hey, let's not label this. Like, I really like you. I really like being with you. Like,
Mhm.
let's just go.
Mhm.
Let's just see. You
Mhm.
know, see what happens.
Right.
And not have like any control or any expectation of it. Right.
Right.
But that's a huge alarm for me that I didn't realize before.
Sure.
Like that actually like, for whatever reason, it doesn't scare me. I thought at first it did.
Right.
I thought I was scared to be like in love again or whatever, because I was scared to get hurt, and that's not the case.
Mhm.
I'm just very careful with who I'm going to give that to,
Right.
right? And the person I give it to, it's real.
Well, you've also had a situation or two where somebody has done that and just come in quickly, and then you saw some things revealed.
Yeah.
So those are definite flags to not ignore.
For sure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, like there's priorities too. You know, you move so quick into something, and then, you know, when I don't want to do something, that says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you know, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. Do you want to come over for dinner tonight? And you're like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just being self-aware enough to understand that and being like, man, you know, this isn't right. Like I should probably move on from this deal,
Right.
you know, because it feels like something I have to do, not something I want to
Sure.
do. And then that's a huge red flag.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes back into the truthfulness and the self-awareness in the beginning, to whereas like if you didn't have the self-confidence, you didn't want to be alone, you'd be like, fuck, I'm gonna go to dinner. And then make believe that you want to be there.
Sure.
That's not, man, think of that.
No.
That's almost sad.
Yeah, it
Right?
is. But how many people do it?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying it's wrong.
No.
I'm just saying that understand and
It's
be
better to
aware.
be truthful with yourself.
Yeah.
With
For
that
sure.
person. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then desire versus love.
Oh my gosh.
That was good.
Actually, we just had that conversation last night.
Did you? Let's hear.
Yeah, just about you know, the men love to be. What was the quote? I found the quote, or somebody. I think I don't know. I found it on Instagram. I forget who was talking about it. And it was men love to be desired. Women desire to be loved. And then we got into the idea of men, to take it further, like to be valued and needed, but not like, oh, I need you, but have to have like to have purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody likes to have purpose.
Right.
So I was reading this thing the other day, and it said love is when you're in a relationship, and desire, it comes from something you can't have.
Interesting.
So that was about cheating. That was about, we talked about like, you know, going outside of your marriage or sharing your relationship or whatever it is. I don't know what it's called, but and you know what I want to say. I don't mean to say it like it's negative, because it's not. Like
Yeah.
if that works for you,
Yeah.
awesome, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's cool. But I do want to say like, I think when you can't have something, it's somewhat more attractive, like naturally, like as a human nature thing, right? And that's part of the game thing too. Like sometimes people play hard to get, and it makes them more attractive, but that's kind of like control manipulation. So you have to be careful with that desire thing,
Right.
right? Like you desire something because you don't have it,
Yes.
and you love something, like, you know, if you love yourself, then you may not desire as much.
I don't know
That's
if
pretty deep shit.
I don't know if I get that one.
But I'm like reading this, like that was a concept, right? Like
Yeah.
that was just like a thought-provoking idea
Yeah.
of what that is, right?
I don't know if I subscribe to that.
Okay, let me put it like this. So So say like,
Give me a different version.
okay, here's a different version. Like, so I'm walking down the street and I see a hot girl and I'm like, God, I want to be with her.
Okay.
That's desire.
Right.
Versus I'm walking down the street and I'm like, wow, that woman's really attractive.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get to know her. And then you get to know her and you build a relationship like you are. That's love.
Okay.
Right? They're two completely different
True.
things.
True. Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess from like a male perspective, I think that's the difference.
Okay.
Right? If I love you, I would trust you and communicate with you and not cheat on you. I'm not saying that that's a question. Like, can you be in love and cheat?
I would say no because it's breaking trust.
Right? Which is the primary foundation of your relationship.
And trust is definitely one of the foundational pieces of love.
Okay. So if you were in a great relationship, somebody cheated,
Mm-hmm.
can you rebuild from that?
Yes.
I think so too. See, that's back to that like romantic love thing. Like if you choose it, you can do it. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, there's a lot of work, and you
Yeah, but you can
have
do
to
it,
choose, and yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know. That's how I see it. I know what you're saying
Mhm.
with the desire to be loved and
Yeah.
love to be desired. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I just think
It was just
two
more
different
about
things.
I think I translated it further, which was, men, I think, need to feel more of a purpose in a relationship. And, of course, it's generalizing.
Do you guys think men are more clingy?
Hmm.
It
No.
depends on the personality. Cause
Yeah,
there can
it
be
depends.
females,
I
too.
think it depends on attachment style of the person.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody said the other day, like women are way more clingy. Like they move faster to attach versus men.
I know some men who are
I do too.
definitely fast attachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time you have sex with them, after that, all bets are off. They tend to get a little clingy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with more of a person's individual attachment style. Whether if you're anxious attachment, you're clingy. If you're avoidant, you shun clingy people. You don't want an anxious attachment. That's your polar opposite. So I think it has to do with personal style versus sex.
Well, I don't even know if sex is a factor in that.
No, I
is
mean
it?
sex, male, female.
Male, female
Oh
sex.
yeah, I got it. I'm sorry. I thought you meant like actually like.
No,
You know what I mean?
not
Okay, sorry.
smash.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned a new term, smashing. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, I think it's about a person's individual attachment style versus.
Robin just said something. You said that the first time a guy has sex, he's more attached.
It
I would think that's
depen-
the opposite.
No. It depends on the personality. It's the character of the person. But your question was, are men more clingy than women? What I've come to realize through the years is after you have sex with someone and you're intimate with them, regardless of where your relationship is at, whether you're just dating or you're actually a couple, they do become more clingy. And I've seen it with women too. My guy friends have told me, damn, it was great sex, but man, now she's all over me and I can't get her to leave me alone 5 minutes apiece. She always wants me there. And I think once you get to that level of attachment, when you let your guard down and you get to that level of attachment, that's where the clinginess comes from. And like Shelley said, it all depends on the person.
Because I think you're I think you're seeking a relationship though, right? You're grinning.
No,
what are
I
you
was
thinking?
No, I was just listening to her and smiling and agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when you smile, you have a thought to share.
No, it's. I feel like that's true. I feel like it's true, but I don't feel like it identifies with one sex or the other.
Mm-mm.
No.
Uh-uh.
Okay. All right. I didn't think so. I do think it's an individual interaction.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Here's a question.
But not everybody who is like that is seeking a relationship. But there's also research that that shows that the cuddle hormone, oxytocin, and after 4 or 5 times of having sex, then the cuddle hormone kicks in, and the oxytocin kicks in and tells your brain that you're starting to love someone.
Okay. Like physiologically.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, there's a thing.
Okay. Well, all right. I mean, that makes sense. Right?
I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what
pretty sure you're
remember
right.
reading.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're pretty dialed in.
because I know somebody who a friend who said that after 3 times, he stopped having sex with women based on that. He said,
Really?
nope, 3 times, that's it. Because
You get 3 shots.
He's like, if I have sex 4 times, she's going to start loving me. And I was like, nobody's going to love you with that attitude.
No, dude.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. He's taking it a little verbatim.
There's lots of issues in that thing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that way. I don't know what I think, actually. I have to think about that one.
Okay, we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like how many times you have sex then you get attached?
Yeah.
It could be one time.
Could be 1.
It could be. Just depends on the person.
No.
1 and
Nope.
done.
That's you though.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
Never
it
know.
doesn't happen. But
It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, no. But I'm just thinking, like, from my perspective, yeah.
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different, totally.
Yeah.
Depends
It's
on where
fascinating.
they're
I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's more of for me, it's more an intellectual attachment than it is a sexual attachment. Like, sex is important and it's fun, and I enjoy it, right? Like, I enjoy women. But I enjoy the intellect as well. Like, if you can't have a deep conversation, then it's just sports sex. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just think there's different levels, right? Like your personality, like you said, it's different for everybody.
Sure.
So if you're not a deep person, which is fine, then sex is like, we just have sex, and that's just kind of part of our interaction. Or if you're a deep person, then like it makes the sex better for me. Like I'm a sapiosexual for sure.
Sure.
Like if you don't have a brain, like whatever, I
Right.
just jerk off, call it good.
Yeah,
So-
what's the conversation like afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Then what?
that would be if there's going to be another time.
Right.
No,
Right?
No. You're going to have
No.
conversation.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. It's the stimulation from the conversation because you can have that before sex. But
Right.
it's even better after sex because then your guard is down. You're very open and honest
Yeah.
about everything. And it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a great conversation. It's
I
pillow
agree.
talk.
And if it's not,
Then what's the point?
then you're like,
Then you're
and
like,
this is just like sport.
yeah, one and done,
It's like
man.
whatever.
Friends with benefits, you're out the door.
And I do think too. I think that okay. This is a conversation that I had with a bunch of people at the lake, married couples, single people, whatever. We were sitting at this big table,
okay.
and we were talking about sex, and we were talking about the dynamic now.
Okay.
Like it doesn't mean as much as it did
No.
20 years ago. Like it's not as an intimate
It's not.
thing.
It's not as sacred.
Yes, that's absolutely true. It's not near as sacred as it used to be. Right? I mean, I think when you're in a relationship, it should be, right? Like when you're committed
Right.
and you're married and whatever. But generally, when you're dating, it's not sacred. I don't think.
Well, I think.
I don't see that. I don't see it
I
being
just
sacred.
think things have changed. I mean, when did it start? With Tinder? I mean, what was it? I think things relaxed over the last couple of decades. Things shifted.
I think it's more like European. Like, in other countries, sex isn't like a secret.
No, people see everything more casually. A lot of people don't. So, I'm not.
But and no judgment either way.
I'm not.
I'm just saying
yeah, I'm not-
generally.
yeah,
it seems
I'm
like
not-
it seems
yes,
that way.
Yes, absolutely. And just as an observation, I think it's more casual. And I think that people are more open. I think people are judging themselves less. And I think that people are more open just to curiosity and exploration. And that, before they would see themselves in a relationship for X amount of time before they would have sex, their own personal rules or whatever, I
don't know if there is.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
I don't either. And I think too, so there's a couple things. One is, the conversations I have had with like healthcare professionals about that, right? They're like, if you build a relationship before you have sex, it's a much more stable relationship. And I think there's a lot of value to that. But it doesn't mean if you have sex earlier,
Right.
whatever that timeline is,
Right.
that it's bad
Right.
either.
Remember
as long
that
as you're truthful and you
conversation?
have conversation.
Remember the conversation with Eric?
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't
At
allowed to have
that-
sex
at
for a
that
year or
meetup?
something.
No, where I can't remember what he said, but he just
Eric
said,
Worth from rehab or the other?
no, Eric Worth he talked about 50 hours. The psychotherapist
That's what it was.
talked
Yeah,
about
that's
that
what it
too.
was. 50
50 hours is like,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, Eric from the meetup thing where he said that if you have sex on the first date, it's like nothing. It's never going to go anywhere. It's horrible. Remember that?
I do.
And you're like, dude, you got to come talk to this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But and then you get, I think that's a form of judgment though.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, dude, if that
It's his
that works
values.
for you, great, or
yeah.
whatever. If it
yeah.
doesn't work for you, that's okay too, right?
Sure.
The funny thing is realizing that, like realizing it's different for everybody, and every interaction is different,
Mhm.
and it doesn't mean like I mean, what if you meet somebody and you have sex with them or whatever? That, oh, you had a one night stand? Well, no.
Yeah.
I met somebody, I decided to be intimate, and it wasn't no sparks there,
Right.
right? Like, go figure. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's everybody like makes some kind of connotation that, you know, if women have sex a lot, then they're like a slut.
Right.
And if men have sex a lot, then like they're a player. Or if you date a lot, you're, you know what I'm saying? That's such bullshit. Like, you
Well-
can be absolutely healthy and date all you want.
And it's all based on social norms and what's
Right.
acceptable and what makes a certain person who's making a certain comment comfortable or uncomfortable is where it's coming from, right?
Right.
Because that's what the judgment is. My judgment, I'm passing on you, which I'm not. But if I'm passing judgment on you, it's based on me being uncomfortable with what you're doing.
Right.
And that's why I'm judging you.
Right.
So when people can step outside of that and look at maybe something, who am I to say what's good for you?
Right.
That makes
right.
no sense.
Right.
I'm not you.
As long as you're not hurting
I haven't
anybody.
lived your life. Exactly.
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting anybody, then so
yeah,
be it. Yep,
yeah.
I agree.
But I think people also, what's interesting is we've gotten so much more judgmental when it comes to politics, race, religion. You know, we've gotten to this place of just really restrictive thinking and, you know, casting stones at people and being very intolerant. But when it comes to sex, we're like, it's completely different. And I don't know, everybody's willing to explore more and have more conversations, and that's fascinating to
That's
me.
a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, it was funny. I was sitting there one time with my son. I don't know if I told you about this. And there was like this show on, and we were watching a movie, and it was like this college movie, and it was all about like masturbation and shit. And I looked over, and he's like, dude, I've been doing that for years. And I was like, oh. And he's like, is it weird? And I was like, no, dude, that's awesome. Like, explore your body.
Yeah.
Like, you should totally, like, don't be doing it out in public or at school.
Don't
but-
do it on the school bus.
Yeah, but like you should explore your body. Like, why would it be weird?
Yeah.
Like, why would that even? And then it makes me think, like, where in our society did it say like self-exploration is weird?
Yeah.
And the only reason why it would say that is for control,
Yeah.
right? Like, you shouldn't control. Like it's your fucking body, dude. If you want to like feel good, then make yourself feel good. Like,
Sure.
there's nothing wrong with that,
Sure.
right? Like, it's just that just sparked this thing in my head where things are starting to change now, where we have the tools as adults to teach the children. The other thing is too, is like the internet, my God. Like, you can find anything on the internet. That was another conversation we had about sex too, is like, hey, everybody's not hung like a horse, and the women don't do that. Like, they can't, not every girl can do what these girls do, right? So when you're watching this, understand that this is somewhat fantasy
Right.
and somewhat of a, you know, role, right? Like, we all wish we could perform like that, but whatever. So it's just, you know, one of those things, right? And we talk like that.
Did he just say that?
Like, that's how we talked, right? I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
it's not really
Yeah.
reality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
It's a
don't
show.
think that's
It's
how
a
it's
show.
supposed to be. And if you don't perform like that, then you're not,
Yeah, it's
then something's
entertainment.
wrong with you or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it takes some medication and whatever.
Yeah.
Fluffers, like we were talking about in between another show. So, but no, really, like, to be able to talk like that and be reality, be like, hey man, if you're watching that on your phone or whatever, which I'm sure, why wouldn't you? And exploring things, like, understand like what that is, like, ask questions about
Sure.
that to clarify what
Right.
that's putting in your head, you know,
Right.
from like a whatever,
Right.
right? Like, an
Which is
expectation
way better than
standpoint.
getting locked into some idea and finding out 20 years later that,
Yeah, you're like, what?
the hell?
Yeah, I remember my dad told me one time, like when I was a kid, that his mom told him that the tampon was to wax the car,
Oh my goodness.
and he actually waxed the car with pads because they had
Oh,
pads
boy.
like way back, right? Like,
Okay.
he wiped the wax off.
Okay.
And it made him so angry that, like, we always had this, when I was growing up, we had like a good dialogue about that. You know, he's like, hey, if you have any questions, ask, and I'll tell you
Funny.
the truth and whatever. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And I think that was like, that's a good message. You know, that was like one of the good messages that I got. But why would you know what I mean? It's
Wow.
like, right?
You know, different times.
Yeah. Different strokes, different folks.
Right.
Yeah, they never used to talk about that stuff on television. Now it's everywhere.
No.
Now it's everywhere. It's on the
Yeah.
internet. It's on
Yeah.
TikTok. It's on
Yeah.
Facebook. It's on,
Yeah.
like everywhere.
Commercials with a famous actress talking about my vagina.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay, this wasn't around in the 70s.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then what about gender roles?
Um,
We had a ton of dialogue about that.
we did. Yeah, because that was sort of based in patriarchy and gender roles and acceptability. And gosh, now the door is flung wide open. I think.
Do you think that?
In fact, it's funny. I had this conversation last night too. That's so
Well,
funny.
good. Let's talk about it.
Well, it was more of a what happened in the 70s, and I know Robin, you'll have something to say about this, which is when women really went full force into the workplace because they wanted to be able to, earn a living and do it all.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore. Thank you. I love that show. And then suddenly they could do it all. So they're raising kids and going to work and doing it all. And then suddenly they became overwhelmed and anxious and depressed. And it was just like, I'm doing all this. And then they became resentful. And just because
that's not healthy.
Well, they could do it all, and so they did it all. And a lot of women are still doing it all. And it's not that men weren't working, but men, were doing what they were doing, and they didn't change anything.
But men weren't working. They're like, fine, if you want to go and do all that extra stuff, I'm still going to do what I do.
Right.
I'm not going to help with the house and the kids and all that. I'm still going to be me.
Right.
But if you want to do all that, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right? Like bring some extra money and it helps, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But and then, you look at, and this is controversial, whatever, but I mean, let's be fucking real right now.
Right.
The biggest minority is women. I think women get the rawest deal of anybody. Personally, just from what I see in business and in life and in, you know what I mean? Like you look at certain professions and it's all men. And it's not because it's a male dominated workforce. It's because that's the culture. And that's not okay. And what you just said, like that's unhealthy. So we teach, like the example that you give is that, okay, I'm going to have the children, I'm going to cook, I'm going to clean, I'm going to do the laundry.
I'm going to arrange childcare.
I'm going to arrange childcare. And then I'm going to go to work for 8 hours.
I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to go to work for 8 hours. I'm going to come home. I'm going to make dinner.
Well, when you come home, you can just sit there and have a cigar and scotch and watch sports.
A lot of dads do help out. I will say that.
Yeah.
But a lot of dads don't.
And I'm just saying, I mean, like that's a super unhealthy arrangement. And that's where, like you just said, like people get depressed and all that. Well, duh, because that sucks. Like I wouldn't want to live like that. And then the guy's like, oh, we're not having sex. Well, no shit, dude.
Right.
She's
like,
too tired, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
She wants to run into traffic instead.
Right. And then you go out. It's just the whole dynamic and that whole like demonstration. Like that was my demonstration. Like that was a demonstration of a relationship when I was a kid. My dad would come home, sit in his chair, have a Diet Pepsi or whatever it was, turn on the TV. My mom would come home from work and cook and clean and do all this stuff. And then if he didn't like the food, I remember one day he didn't like the food and he like threw it down the hallway.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what a fucking asshole.
Wow.
Right? But like she was working so hard.
Yeah.
And that was like, that's the example of what a relationship's supposed to look like. There's no equality in that. That's not okay. And that's like when you say the 70s, I think that is why some of the shit we have now is because of that demonstration.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like when I was a kid, like how it was, it was crazy.
I know. But it goes back to women wanting to be able to make the choice. Well, then I feel like we put ourselves in a position where we didn't have a choice then, because then, it became a 2-income household situation for a lot of people. And then of course you change your standard of living to 2-income household. And then suddenly you can't do without that second income. And the changes that were made usually with a lot of families weren't, I think, equally acceptable to both. And I think that really hurt women for the long run.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I think it hurt them. A lot of them are plateaued in careers because of it. And a lot are, limited.
I agree.
And a lot might not be happy, and they might not like even be doing it. Maybe they would rather be at home. But again, with the 2-income handcuffs, what are you going to do?
It's weird because like I see that for like autonomy, but it's somewhat about power. Like I see a relationship like a gender role. Like when it says gender roles, I think I know it's not bullshit, but I also think it's like a team thing. Like I would see me as like a team effort, like building as a team, not like, oh, I make $10,000 more than you a year or whatever. And that was something you made me very aware of. Remember that one show we did and you were like, dude, seriously? Like money? No, there's more than one currency.
Yeah.
Right? And that would be a currency. So the flip side of that coin is like, when you talk about gender roles, I have another friend and it's they're married for a long, long time. And he's very successful and she stays at home and they have multiple children. And she takes care of all that stuff. And that's just as valuable as making whatever amount of money.
Yeah.
Because that's another currency.
Yes.
Right? That gives him the ability to be free to do what he wants to do. But if you flip that and you add a career to this woman, and then he just keeps doing what he's doing, and she does all that other shit, like soccer practice and all that for multiple kids, and ballet, and teacher conferences and all that stuff. Like, that's insane, dude. You can't. There's not enough hours in the day to do that. That's the point.
Yeah, there are.
That's the red flag.
There are.
Okay, well, there are. If you're like, you'd have to be crazy.
I've done it.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like that.
Yeah.
Was you having fun doing that?
I barely remember it. I was surviving.
Yeah.
Not kidding.
That I think it takes away some of the enjoyment of having children. Right? I mean,
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to go back into my subconscious and dig that one out.
No.
I'm here to tell you.
Yeah. All right. We'll just leave that one in the box.
We're just going to leave that one all locked up.
All right. Cool. So, but that that's something that I think about now, looking back.
Right.
Right. And even looking back from like an appreciative standpoint, like being grateful, like being grateful for your partner to do that, or even like say if I stayed home. Like, I'd be fine with that too, whatever, because you're a partnership, right? You're going to build a life together and have like the best, most healthiest family and productive deal you can have.
Well, it's about the common goals and the conversation around it, too.
And trust and all the other things, right? Communication. And then, when we talk about gender roles, we talk about platonic friends. Like, there's a lot of people that can't be friends with the opposite sex.
I know.
That's so weird to me. Because, like, it's so funny to me because that, I don't know, like every time, like I go to the lake and I have girls that are friends and one of the guys that's on the dock, he has this deal. He's like, hey, if that's your girlfriend, like give me the nod, or like if you're dating her, give me the nod.
Right.
And when I don't give him the nod, I'm like, dude, she's just a friend.
Right.
Like that works. Yeah. That actually happens. It's okay to just have a friend. Right. But back to that gender role thing. A lot of people think like if a guy and a girl show up together, then they're automatically together. Maybe that's the reason why people on Facebook don't have pictures with the opposite sex. I don't know. Maybe. But that's generally the observation is that if you show up with another, especially if you're by yourself, like you're automatically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
No, I just think people do that. People surmise,
They
make a judgment about it or whatever.
Yeah, they assume.
I go out with a guy friend all the time, and just even a couple weeks ago, we went to a restaurant and got takeout. And the lady behind the cash register assumed we were a couple. I'm like, well, we were married in a movie. That's how we met. We played husband and wife in a movie, but we've been best friends for, 15 years. And we go out all the time like that. And we go back to his house and hang out for 4 or 5 hours, eat the food and watch movies and crap. It's like so cool.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be.
It's valuable.
It is because you don't even have to put out, you just have a fun time.
Right.
She says shit that's like that I would say.
Well, that's because I've hung around guys all my life,
So that brings me to our relationship, right?
Right.
It's totally platonic, like you were saying with your Greg. And it's like normal. But it's also like, I don't hate to say this, but like if you and I go to a bar and we're friends, that makes me way more attractive because like I'm with a girl and it's a healthy relationship and we're friends. That makes me like almost more normal to another woman. Is that true or not true?
Ooh. No.
I don't think so.
No, I think they're going to think that we're dating.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, so let's play this out.
Okay.
So we go to a meetup.
Okay.
Right? This is real. Like I'm playing this out for reals.
Okay.
We go to a meetup like we used to.
Okay.
And I would meet a girl there.
Yeah.
And talk to you and like introduce you or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you guys are just friends?" And that was like appealing in almost every single situation.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's what I noticed.
Interesting. Okay.
You have to get into the conversation though, because
you have to get in the conversation. It can't just be like somebody casually like.
But I think that's also body language. Like we're not going to walk in and you're not going to put your head on my shoulder or something. I'm not going to like hold your hand or put my arm around you.
They're not going to pay attention to that. Most girls are going to look at it like she is with you.
Yeah, most girls right away would be like, "Oh,
he's taken."
Really?
Yes. Yeah, but if you have that conversation, if you're meeting another girl there and you have that conversation and introduce her as one of your best friends, and you're only friends, nothing more, then you're good.
I don't remember how it worked, but it worked.
I don't know. Well, you would know.
I met lots of people. You met lots of dudes?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So maybe it had to be body language. I think yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, you're pretty popular. Go figure.
That's because she's beautiful.
Yeah. And you're social and you can talk and you're
Because
funny.
I was wearing a
fun.
Santa costume.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. That was a good night. All right. We'll get through this. You know, it's funny because we keep saying like all these things relate, like conscious parenting, you know, that's communication, that's all that kind of stuff. And man, that was a good conversation about that.
Oh, Kristen?
Yeah.
So
that was
good.
gnarly. Yeah. And then red flags, like all these things are red flags. Addiction, that's a red flag. What you're addicted to, social media, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And then, you know, one of the best ones was emotional sobriety.
I love that.
Because I didn't know what that meant
Until
until
a great
Teresa
tool.
came in here and taught us what that is.
Great tool.
And that is powerful.
I love it.
So we take all this stuff, and I maybe this just happened by chance, or that's maybe one of the last ones, but all of these things put together, like if you even have a concept of them, and maybe, you know, you don't practice them every day or whatever, but you talked about a situation in a relationship where you were kind of off, like maybe you were a little bit jealous, maybe the alarm was going off, but you had the emotional sobriety to be like, well, wait a second, let's hard stop this and see what
Sit
this
with
is really about, right? And the coolest part about that is when you and I talked about it, I just listened to you. I can't give you my opinion. I can just listen and be like, hey, you're saying this, right? And then you're like, holy shit, I'm doing that too, right? Like, and I think that's where like true friends come in, because I'm not trying to put my shit on you or try and make your relationship like mine.
Right.
I'm listening to you and making you self-aware, right? Like I'm making you aware of your reality, really, is all you're doing. But you're not giving an opinion and you're not judging. And I think that's like a true communication should look like in that situation.
Reflecting.
Right? Because I'm not there. I don't know.
Right.
I never even met this dude.
Yeah.
Which is fucking rude, by the way. All right, we'll get to that later. But that emotional sobriety. And then we talked about the, whatever, sitting on a curb and crying.
Yes.
You know, that's emotional sobriety. Right? Like a major, major event in your life. And that says like, okay, that's a trigger. That's a red flag in that I still have some work to do in this spot, right? Which you did. It's crazy. Like it's just so massive how when you have people around you that actually like give a shit,
right?
They'll be like, wait a second, because like I've lost my temper before. I gotta tell you, I was talking to this guy yesterday, and the same person that I brought up before, that he's changing professions, and I was like, dude, like watch the red flags. Like changing a profession is a major life event. That's a major life event.
It is.
Right? Like leaving a job or changing a profession,
moving,
getting a divorce.
Like there's so many things.
You know, a long time breakup, that's a major life event that needs some attention, right? So if something happens and somebody makes a major life change for really no reason, that's a fucking red flag. Like when I left the fire department on crutches and I just walked out, that's a huge red flag. Like if I saw somebody do that now, I'd be like, what the hell's going on? Hang on, take a day. Let's talk.
Right.
Like I'll call you or whatever. You don't just be like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Peace out. Yeah.
Like it's so crazy. Like, and there's so many things, or like cheating on your wife with whatever. Like that's a huge red flag.
Right.
Those are big, big, big things that are out of character.
Right.
Right. Or like you lose your temper, or like say for example, we walk outside and you're like, Scott, go fuck yourself. Fuck you. I'd be like, all right. Like, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
what's that about?
Like, what are you having? Like, you need some sugar or something?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you also understand that, okay, maybe you need some space. Wait till tomorrow. But I wouldn't be like, fine, never talk to you again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Block
it would
her
have
number.
Yeah, it'd have to be like a super long-term behavior type thing.
Sure.
But that's my point, is that that would be a red flag to me. I'd be like, okay, what's wrong?
Right.
Right? Like, we need to talk. Or if you don't want to talk to me, like talk to somebody, but like calm down before you get in your car, or you know what I'm saying? Like that's emotional sobriety and not taking it personal.
Right.
And that's
it's
a
just
key
that
thing.
being in that neutral place.
Yeah. But it's also
before responding.
Yes. But it's and sometimes you do respond, you get mad, right? That's normal. We're human. But the other thing emotional sobriety is it's like letting people and allowing them to grow.
Yes.
Because I'm sure shit not the same person I was a year ago. Not even fucking close. Core I am, but I'm not the same person.
Right.
And if somebody chooses to change, they can change. Every day you wake up, you can be different if you choose that, right? And that's also emotional sobriety, like understanding that. Like, I don't hold a grudge.
Right. And our challenge is to not judge each other based on past mistakes and to forgive ourselves for our own.
Absolutely, right? That's what rehabilitation is, whatever that is. If it's drugs, alcohol, whatever, like, if you're accountable and responsible for your actions, that's one thing. But you can also change too and not repeat the same thing.
Sure.
Especially if it's toxic or destructive or whatever, right? Like, you can change. You just have to choose it.
Right.
And then keep people around you that allow you to.
And be consistent.
Yeah. But you have to be allowed to change.
Right.
Right? It's so funny, like, sometimes you see people or even hear people talk and they're like, well, remember when you did this? That's who you are. You're like, no, dude, that's not who I am. You know what I mean? Like,
Something
you don't
I did at one point.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like this, and they're going to hold you to it forever.
Right.
It's really about them.
Sure.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Sure.
That emotional sobriety piece is like, that's the best thing
Powerful.
ever. Yeah. And I didn't even know what the fuck that was.
No, it's powerful.
Wait, have you ever heard of that before that? Have you?
Yeah.
She's smart.
Yeah, emotional quotient is pretty much the same
Quotient, yeah.
thing. Yeah, EQ.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
I don't know. So anyways, all these things, as we went through, I still think generally we think the same about them. Like, if we were to like actually have a show on each one of these things, I think it would generally be the same, but I think the approach would be a little bit different. Because some of those shows we did, or I did, and I was still healing. So I think the way I presented things might have been a little bit different. And then, like, and we even talked about this, like, it changed, like the way we talk changed. It's totally different now.
Sure.
Because it's not about like pain or hurting. It's about like, hey, here's like a situation that you need to identify and like pay attention to.
Just a perspective, yeah.
And then also the dynamic of like your and I communication is from a super healthy, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's anything I could say to you that would upset you now.
No.
Not like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like, I could piss you off, but not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's different, right?
I agree.
So that's like another thing too. And even when like I think about literally anything, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Good.
It's so weird.
Good. Right?
Like from the whatever civil service stuff or like old relationships or my childhood or whatever, like it's just kind of like that's a memory. Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's like processed and done, and it's really powerful. That's a cool thing.
It is powerful.
That's like a gift that you can't describe.
Right.
And that comes from all that stuff. But then also identifying things that are red flags, like any of these things could be a red flag, and being like, okay, let's hard stop this and figure out what's up. And if it doesn't work for you and it can't change, then you like self-preservation comes into play there, and you need to move on.
Constant self-awareness.
Like, how many times do you have that? Like, so if you're doing a coaching session, how many times have you done that? Like, hey, did you consider like what you need and you know what I'm saying? Like, how often do you do that? How often do you talk to people and they don't even like know who they are?
I think they know where they are even if they're in pain. So it's not so much a who they are, it's a where they are.
So like every therapist or coach or whatever, you're just making them aware of their reality.
Not by telling them.
Right, because they don't want to hear that.
By listening and just reflecting it back, leading them to hear themselves.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, and I think that's generally the purpose or the concept of therapy, right? Helping you realize your reality, not telling you what to do.
Realize where you are.
Right.
And understand it.
And also not helping you do more toxic shit.
Right.
That it was funny because one of the conversations I heard, and it wasn't in our group, it was like a table next to us, and there was like 3 girls talking, and one of the girls was like, oh yeah, he cheated on me or whatever, and the other 2 girls were like, well, you just go out and cheat. And I was like, oh my God, that's gonna help. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. Like, don't identify the problem. You just go cheat and let him cheat, and then everything will be cool, and you'll feel better about it.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, wow, dude, that was like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's probably not the friend you want around.
Probably not.
You know what I'm saying? Or like, yeah, you can have this toxic thing, and then I'm gonna try and set you up with someone else while you're in this toxic thing.
Sure.
Like, that is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Not end it and be healthy, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where I start to realize too, like as a friend, that means you have a duty to the same thing, like help them realize the reality, but not try to change it.
Well, most people aren't in a situation where they're surrounded by people who have some really healthy perspective.
True. I know I wasn't for a long time, right? But anyways, that's just a review of what we did. Not every show,
No.
but I think like a highlight.
Yeah,
of
we
it,
hit highlights.
You know,
yeah.
just like a little snippet of each thing. And some of the shit's funny.
It's good stuff.
Like when we were talking, you know, like the first couple of shows, we talked about the iPad thing. Like that was funny. That's messed up.
Well, some of today was funny.
Well, yeah. So, anyways, everybody, we appreciate you watching The Knot. We appreciate the support. Shelley Netco, Scott Freymuller, have a great day.